Kesh Island, 28 kilometers north of the Strait of Hormuz, 4:10 in the morning. 112 U.S. Army Rangers from the 75th Ranger Regiment were moving toward Iran's coastal command site that controlled missile radars, drone feeds, and ship seizure orders. Inside the compound, 386 Iranian forces were defending 2 anti-ship missile batteries, 14 radar vehicles, 8 drone launch rails, and the command room guiding attacks on civilian cargo traffic. The Rangers had 2 hours and 40 minutes to shut it all down. From this hill, Iranian forces could track every cargo ship in the channel. Iranian forces believed the position could not be taken fast. They had double fences, concrete bunkers, 6 watchtowers, 4 underground storage rooms, and overlapping fire from PKM machine guns, DSHK heavy guns, RPG, 7 teams, and Zu-23-2 anti-aircraft guns turned toward the shoreline. U.S. Army planners broke the assault into 4 parts. Alpha Element had 28 Rangers and the breach team. They would hit the west gate, cut the first fence with det cord, and clear the command block. Bravo Element had 24 Rangers with Mk-11 Mod 0 rifles and M24OB machine guns. They would take the ridge south of the site, knock out towers, and pin the outer trench. Charlie Element had 30 Rangers with Mk-18C QBR carbines and 2 Carl Gustaf M3 recoilless rifles. They would strike from the east, destroy the radar yard, and blind the missile crews. Delta Element had 30 Rangers in 6 fast boats. They would land north of the compound, block the coastal road, and stop reinforcements from Bandar Abbas. At 4:16, the assault began from 4 directions. Bravo fired first. 2 suppressed Mk-11 shots dropped the tower gunners on the south wall. A 3rd shot broke a searchlight. Alpha sprinted through the dark ground west of the gate. A strip of deck cord snapped across the outer fence. The blast cut a hole 7 meters wide. Charlie crossed the drainage ditch on the east side and fired a Carl Gustaf round into the first radar truck. Delta boats hit the shore 410 meters north of the compound and unloaded in 38 seconds. Iranian forces reacted in pieces, not as one defense. The West Gate bunker fired an AK-74 burst, then went silent when Alpha hit it with C4. On the east side, 1 Zu-23-2 swung toward Charlie, but a second Carl Gustaf round smashed the gun shield before it could fire. Along the North Road, Delta Rangers placed 2 Claymore lines, rolled an M2 Browning off a boat sled, and pointed it toward the first bend from the city. At 4:18, Alpha was inside the outer yard. 3 Rangers with M4A1, SOP Mod 2 carbines crossed to the vehicle sheds and cut down 7 Iranian forces rushing for a parked truck. Another Ranger fired an AT-4 into the west bunker door. The steel plate folded inward. Alpha moved through the smoke, cleared 2 rooms, and reached the concrete lane leading to the command block. Iranian forces fired from sandbag pits near the fuel drums. An M249 SAW answered with a 6-second burst. Bravo held the ridge and widened the gap. 2 M24OB teams shifted left and right, firing into the trench line below. Iranian forces tried to drag a DSHK to a better angle. A Bravo sniper dropped the crew one by one. Another pair of Iranian forces ran from a tower base toward the generator hut. A Javelin team on the ridge locked onto the hut and fired. The blast killed the team inside and shut down power to the west half of the site. Charlie hit the radar yard at 4:20. Drone links began to fail. Iranian operators inside the control van tried to switch to backup feeds. Charlie breachers ran to the van, slapped thermite on the door hinges, and pulled back. Molten metal cut through the hinge pins in seconds. The door dropped. 2 Rangers threw flashbangs, then Charlie rushed in and shot 5 operators at arm's length. Outside, another team used shaped charges on 3 radar dishes and 2 tracking masts. The dishes bent down into the gravel. Delta met the first counterattack at 4:22. 4 pickup trucks came down the coastal road with headlights off. The lead truck hit the first Claymore and rolled into the ditch. The second truck tried to turn away. The M2 Browning tore through the engine block. Rangers with Mk-18C QBR carbines finished the passengers as they jumped clear. The last 2 trucks stopped and their Iranian forces ran into a low wall. Delta pinned them there with M4A1 fire and a Mk-19 grenade launcher mounted beside the beach line. The road stayed closed. At 4:24, Iranian forces inside the compound began to understand the scale of the attack, the command site radio net filled with broken reports. West fence gone, east radar yard hit, north road blocked, missile crews called for launch approval, but the command room could not answer. Charlie had already broken the firing link. Alpha reached the command block at 4:26. The front doors were locked by an internal steel bar. A breacher pressed a linear charge along the frame and detonated it. The doors flew open. Rangers entered on both sides. The lobby fight lasted 22 seconds. 3 Iranian forces died beside a map table. 2 more tried to retreat down a stairwell. A Ranger with a Mk-18C QBR fired twice and both fell. By 4:28, Bravo was taking fire from the southern trench in short bursts. Iranian forces had moved a PKM machine gun behind stacked tires and pinned one Bravo fire team for 40 seconds. A Ranger crawled to a better angle, fired a Carl Gustaf round low, and blew the position apart. The trench line broke. 6 Iranian forces tried to run east toward the missile revetments. Bravo machine gunners cut down 4. The other 2 dropped their rifles and lay flat with their hands out. Charlie pushed deeper at 4:30. The missile section still had 17 Iranian forces and 1 working launcher vehicle. A Ranger fired a javelin at the launcher before it could move. The missile hit the center mass and set off fuel inside the hull. Flames climbed above the revetment wall. Another Charlie team rushed the reload bunker. The outer hatch was chained shut. A breacher fixed C4 to the locking wheel. The blast ripped the chain loose. Rangers entered and found 6 anti-ship missiles on racks, 18 guidance crates, and 11 Iranian forces trying to hold the hallway. Flashbangs went in first, then rifles. The bunker was secure in 90 seconds. Delta heard engines again at 4:32. This time, it was 2 armored trucks and 1 flatbed carrying 14 Iranian forces. They came from the Bandar Abbas road and tried to push through the smoke near the bend. Delta let them reach 120 meters. Then the Mk-19 opened fire. Grenades walked across the road and under the flatbed. 1 armored truck swerved into a berm. The second kept moving until a Ranger hit it with an AT-4 from 35 meters. The blast tore the front axle off. Survivors ran into the rocks. At 4:34, the battle split into 4 close fights at once. Alpha cleared offices and seized hard drives, maps, and ship routing logs. Bravo shifted off the ridge and moved into the south yard to join the inner assault. Charlie worked through the bunker line, room by room, taking drone parts and missile control modules. Delta stayed on the road and watched the shoreline for boats. Iranian forces were now stuck in separate corners. At 4:36, the garrison had lost its link between sectors. The west gate was gone. The south trench was taken. The radar yard was blind. The north road was closed. Alpha already held the command room. The hardest fight came at 4:38 inside the underground operations hall. A stairwell below the command block led to the room guiding radar tracks and drone feeds over the strait. 29 Iranian forces had fallen back there with 2 PKM machine guns and 3 RPG-7 launchers. Alpha tried the first landing and took heavy fire. 1 Ranger was killed. 3 more were wounded. The stairwell filled with dust and fragments. Alpha pulled back 8 meters. A breacher rolled a camera on a pole down the steps, saw the gun line behind overturned tables, then ran a det cord strip under the handrail. The blast hit the first PKM. 2 Rangers rushed the landing. Another threw a flashbang across the hall. Then Alpha poured in with M4A1, SOP-Mod 2 carbines, and cleared the room in 70 seconds. At 4:40, Bravo entered the vehicle yard and found 3 Iranian forces trying to hook a missile trailer to a truck. AM-240B burst killed the driver. Another Ranger fired through the windshield and dropped the second. The third ran behind fuel drums and raised an RPG-7. A Bravo grenadier shot him first. By 4:42, 26 minutes into the operation, Iranian forces tried one last coordinated move. 23 defenders from the North Barracks and missile pits formed a line near the central flagpole and pushed toward the command block. They fired AK-74 rifles and 1 DSHK from a truck mount. Alpha and Bravo met them together. M249 SAW fire stitched the yard. A Carl Gustaf round hit the truck and flipped the DSHK clear. Charlie struck the line from the east with MK-18CQ-BR fire. In 3 minutes, the push collapsed. 11 Iranian forces were dead in the open. 7 were wounded. 5 crawled behind concrete blocks and surrendered. At 4:44, Delta reported movement offshore. 3 Iranian fast boats were racing south from a small cove north of the island. They were too late to land troops, but they could still hit the extraction beach. A U.S. destroyer outside the strait had been tracking them. Then the ship fired AGM-114 Hellfire missiles from an embarked helicopter. 1 boat burned at once. The second lost power and drifted. The third tried to turn out toward open water and was struck by 30mm fire from the helicopter door gun. At 4:46, Charlie seized the main objective. The inner control vault sat behind a reinforced door under the east bunker. This room held the hard drives for targeting data, recorded orders for ship seizures, codes for drone launch cycles, and the backup server tied to the anti-ship batteries. Charlie fixed shaped charges on both pins, covered the hull, and blew the door inward. Inside were 8 Iranian technicians and 4 guards. The guards fired first. 2 Rangers answered with controlled M4A1 bursts. A third Ranger dropped a technician reaching for a deletion switch. Within 40 seconds, the room was secure. Alpha and Charlie moved fast once the vault was taken. Rangers bagged 19 hard drives, 7 codebooks, 12 encrypted radios, and 3 laptop servers. Other teams placed thermite on the remaining missile guidance racks and drone launch panels. In the West Yard, Bravo stacked captured weapons and zip-tied prisoners. Delta sent 10 Rangers forward from the roadblock to help search the northern warehouses. Inside, they found 2 drone fuselages, 41 crates of naval mines, Ryzen 66 RPG 7 rounds. Thermite charges went onto the mine fuses and control boards. At 4:50, final resistance came from the shoreline bunker. 12 Iranian forces had stayed hidden while the inner sight fell. They opened fire on Delta from narrow ports with AK-74 rifles and 1 PKM. A Ranger fired a Carl Gustaf round into the left firing slit. Delta rushed closer under M4A1 cover, packed C4 at the bunker vent, and detonated it. Smoke blew back into the chamber. 3 Iranian forces ran out coughing. They were shot at once. The other 9 stumbled out seconds later and surrendered on the rocks. By 4:54, the compound was fully in U.S. Army hands. 1 anti-ship battery had been destroyed by javelin fire. The second was burned with thermite. 14 radar vehicles were wrecked or disabled. 8 drone launch rails were cut apart. The command block servers were taken. The operations hall was cleared. The cargo seizure logs were in Ranger hands. What Iranian forces had used to track and stop ships in the strait was now broken, burning, or loaded for extraction. Extraction began at 5:02. Demolition timers were set for 11 minutes. Wounded Rangers moved first to the boats. Prisoners were blindfolded and marched in groups of 6. Bravo covered the west and south lanes. Charlie swept the vault one last time and confirmed no data pack had been missed. Delta reopened a narrow path to the beach and signaled the offshore boats. Iranian reinforcements from Bandar Abbas were still moving, but the destroyed road vehicles and burning trucks had slowed them too much. At 5:10, long-range fires sealed the withdrawal. A U.S. warship offshore launched 2 BGM-109 Tomahawk missiles at the outer fuel yard and the spare launcher park east of the site. Both hit within seconds of each other. Secondary blasts rolled across the hill. 2 minutes later, an F-35 dropped a single GBU-31 JDAM on the North Motor Pool, where surviving Iranian vehicles had been gathering. The strike ended the last chance of pursuit. Rangers boarded the last boats at 5:14. By 5:21, 1 hour and 5 minutes after the assault began, the demolition timers and follow-on strikes finished the site. The missile revetments were burning. The radar masts were down. The drone rails were twisted metal. Iranian reinforcements reached the outer road too late. The final count was clear. U.S. Army Rangers lost 2 killed and 9 wounded. Iranian forces lost 110 killed, 88 wounded, and 70 captured. The Rangers destroyed 2 anti-ship missile batteries, 14 radar vehicles, 8 drone launch rails, 11 trucks, 2 armored vehicles, 41 naval mine crates, and 1 shoreline bunker complex. The total equipment and facility loss to Iran was estimated at $214 million. Iran believed the Keshem command site could control the Strait of Hormuz and keep civilian shipping under threat without facing a direct ground assault. What actually happened was that 112 U.S. Army Rangers cut the site apart in 65 minutes, seized its records, burned its launch systems, and left before Iranian reinforcements could even enter the main gate. Iranian forces had bunkers, missiles, radars, mines, and 4 times the shoreline support. What they did not have was 112 U.S. Army Rangers willing to take the whole system apart before sunrise.